Now it's clear. Pope Leo XIV's latest appointments are shaking up the Church like nothing seen in decades. The Pope, behind his gentle face, seems to subtly but decisively impress a disturbing direction on the Church of Christ. Some speak of renewal, but others see a true revolution. Stay tuned. What's happening in Rome deserves to be fully explored. While the Catholic world is questioning the future of the Church, Pope Leo XIV seems to want to bring about a change that many are calling epochal, others simply disturbing. His latest decisions, two important appointments in Rome and Vienna, do not appear to be random, but rather like pieces of a very precise strategy aimed at consolidating a new ecclesial course. A course that, judging by the names chosen, is no longer afraid to openly challenge the tradition and moral law on which the Catholic faith has been founded for centuries. In Vatican circles, there is talk of renewal, but among the more attentive faithful, there is a growing suspicion that we are witnessing something very different. Not a rejuvenation of the spirit, but rather a radical transformation of the identity of the Church itself. After years of compromises, Leo XIV appears determined to surround himself with men who do not fear controversy, even at the cost of scandalizing. And if the logic of these choices were to open the Church to the world, many fear that by doing so, we would end up closing the doors to the truth. On October 15th, Pope Leo XIV appointed Cardinal Cupich, 76, of Chicago, as a new member of the Vatican City State Governing Council. An appointment that, at first glance, might seem like a normal administrative act, but which in reality reveals much more, a precise desire for direction. Bishop Emeritus Joseph Strickland of Tyler, Texas, stated this bluntly, calling it a statement of direction. His words resonated with many faithful who have long observed with concern the rise of figures openly hostile to traditional liturgy and non-negotiable moral principles. Cupich, in fact, is known for having limited the Roman Rite Mass in his diocese, for having publicly praised politicians in favor of anti-life practices, and for having systematically obstructed priests and lay people committed to the defense of life. According to Monsignor Strickland, the choice of Leo XIV is a dramatic signal. Fidelity to tradition, once considered the backbone of the Church, is today treated as an obstacle. His words are harsh, but precise. When men are appointed to power who reject the moral law, who mock the sacred liturgy, who despise the faithful who kneel before the Eucharistic Lord, this is not a renewal. It is a revolt against Christ himself. If you appreciate our outreach service and believe in the values of truth and transparency, please purchase a super thank you. Each piece of content requires commitment, study, and dedication, and our work is entirely self-funded. Your support helps us continue this mission. Thank you so much. A judgment that sounds like a cry of alarm. While Rome speaks of synodality and openness, Strickland denounces the dispersion of the flock, warning that the wolves no longer hide, but wear mitres and sit on the councils of ecclesiastical power. A few days after the appointment of Cardinal Cupich, another decision by Pope Leo XIV has sent shockwaves through the ecclesiastical palaces. The choice of the Reverend Joseph Grunvidel as the new Archbishop of Vienna. 62 years old, a well-known face in Austria for his openly progressive positions, Grunvidel was for years one of the protagonists of the so-called Priests' Initiative, the movement that in 2011 launched a true call to disobedience against church law. At the time, along with other parish priests, he declared that he would allow women to preach, lead liturgies, and give communion to adulterers, a gesture that earned him a rebuke from Cardinal Christoph Schönborn, but which today, ironically, seems to have been rewarded with one of the most prestigious sees in Europe. Those who know Grunvidel describe him as a gentle priest with radical ideas. During a service in St. Stephen's Cathedral, he read a poem that sounded like a manifesto. If a woman kissed Jesus' feet, why shouldn't she be able to kiss the altar? Words that, for many, reveal a way of thinking that transforms the liturgy into an ideological battleground. His vision of the priesthood, then, openly breaks with tradition. Celibacy should not be a prerequisite for the priesthood, he declared, maintaining that it should be solely a personal choice. And while anti-Catholic theologians Paul Zulener and Regina Polak, known for their heterodox theses, applaud his rise, a disturbing question is emerging among the faithful. What is becoming of the Church if those who have made disobedience their banner are chosen to lead it? The fact that Polak, the same woman who in 2016 wrote that the idea of God becoming man is heretical, is among his supporters, speaks volumes about the climate in which certain appointments are made. It's no longer the merit of faithfulness that is recognized, but the strength of provocation. Leo. The 14th's appointments are not simply personal choices. They are the reflection of an ecclesial thought that is transforming before everyone's eyes. The men the Pope places at the top do not limit themselves to discussing pastoral issues, but seem determined to redraw the very boundaries of the Catholic faith. The abolition of compulsory celibacy, the opening to female ordinations, the idea that morality can be renegotiated in the name of mercy have become the new banners of a clerical world that looks more to media consensus than to the truth of the gospel. From the very first appointments, which have now become a source of dismay, Athanasius Schneider had raised his voice not as an outsider, but as a bishop who considers himself the guardian of the truth. In several statements, he warned that the pontiff, although invested with Petrine authority, will answer to God for every lost soul through his collaborators. In a context in which ambiguously progressive priests are rising to the top of the church, Schneider warned, "The fog of error does not remain confined to the palaces, but extends to the altars." Today, that fog seems to be gathering. Through bishops and cardinals preaching a new morality adapted to the tastes of the times, the Church risks losing the voice of its eternal shepherd. It's not a question of opinion, but of loyalty. Schneider said it with disarming clarity. God's judgment will not take into account polls, but the truth guarded and defended. Thus, while Rome celebrates its opening, the simple people continue to kneel, to pray, and to hope that from the folds of the storm, a voice will still rise to remind the world that Christ does not change. The Pope, whatever his name, remains Peter's successor, but Peter, without the rock of faith, becomes mere sand slipping through the fingers of time. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment, Amen. God bless you.